Colin, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
As Elon would say, what'd you get done this week?
A sick kid, not much.
So you didn't close any new
Uh,
investments or deals, is that what you're saying?
Not this week. I last week though, yes, I do have
Okay.
a SPV shaping up this week with Sidecar, which
All
is
right. Well, that was the
exciting.
point. You were supposed to close an
Yeah.
investment this week so I could talk about Sydecar because they're sponsoring right now. And, I got to tell all our wannabe angels that they can begin their venture capital career with Sidecar. They are the go-to platform for those new to managing SPVs and funds. Apparently, Colin closed a deal with Sidecar last week. He uses them to manage their fund. I actually use their syndicate product for every single investment that I make out of my fund. And to learn more, you can visit Sidecar's Wannabe Angels page, sidecar.io/ wannabe angels. And of course, we'll have a link in the show notes. What do you think? You're up.
What do I think of Sidecar? I think it's great because I mean, it's really awesome. They also just had a product release come out like
Oh, I
yesterday,
didn't see
which I'm
that. What
really
was it?
excited. Yeah, it's really exciting for syndicate people like ourselves. It's now like all contact management for all the
Oh,
people that were previously in your syndicate. So now you can see what they invested in, what they've looked at, just handle basically a CRM for all your potential LPs. So I'm
very
really
cool.
excited about that. Should really just make things a lot more efficient.
Yeah, I have been impressed with how I really like a lot of these complete companies that iterate on the product quickly. Like I always joke, I love Tesla because it's like if anything doesn't work, like they're going to fix it with a software update sometime soon.
Yeah.
And it's like literally it's crazy the amount of software updates that they send. And I feel like Sidecar is similar in that, I remember when I was sending out they used to have to send like a link to all the investors and then they changed it recently, right? And now people can kind of like one click and then like see the deals a little bit more easily. And so it's just kind of cool to see like literally I did a deal, there was something that I didn't love about it, and then like less than a month later they had updated and that changed it. And that's kind of what's cool about working with like startups and young and hungry and up and coming companies.
No, totally. And I think they've reached out in the past and I've gotten to work directly with their product manager to give them feedback on like this product and kind of the pain points that we've had. So I, that is like the best part of working with startups is like
Yeah, I sent them a
velocity.
Loom video.
So, oh, I
I'm big
just,
on Loom right now. I hate receiving Loom videos, but I love sending them.
you got to watch them on like 2 or 3x speed.
Oh
And
yeah.
then,
Well, that's Loom, another great product. They've got 2x. I think they have 2.5x now,
wow.
getting aggressive. So very cool. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing more about, maybe we'll do an episode talking about some of our recent investments that you and I have both been making. And as mentioned, you use Sidecar to manage your fund, and I use them for each of my investments, which I syndicate with my LP and GP commit. So we might have to talk about in the future. So big thanks to Sidecar for sponsoring today's show. You can head over to sidecar.io/ wannabe angels. And I'm ready to chat with Morgan. What about you?
I'm excited for it. It's too bad
All
we
right.
don't
Well,
have any
don't you have
breakfast
something
today.
to do? We'll see you in 2 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, doorbell's ringing.
All right. Hold on. Let's go.
Probably Rainmaker is the weirdest company that I've invested in. If you're on Twitter, you've probably seen Augustus running around. Berkeley dropout has had a successful startup before, and his like next big thing is changing the weather. Software
Wait, so
companies
what do they do?
before,
They change the
Yeah.
weather?
yeah. So
They make rain.
yeah, they
Do they
make it
literally
rain.
make rain?
Rainmaker makes it rain. So fly a plane into a cloud and spray silver iodide. You could, make it rain over a general area, make it rain over maybe like a ski resort.
So, Morgan Barrett is the founder of the Tech Breakfast Club, a group of founders, VCs, and operators that meet monthly in New York City, Los Angeles, and San Francisco for breakfast. When he's not busy hosting Tech Breakfast Club, he works with founders from formation to acquisition as a lawyer at Optimal Counsel. He went to the University of Virginia for undergrad and then Columbia for law school. While in law school, he began angel investing. He doesn't really have a thesis. He just wants to be entertained, as they would say in Gladiator. That means he loves weird companies and even weirder founders. So if you're a founder building something cool or a VC investing in early stage startups and this part is crucial, you must enjoy breakfast. You should join Tech Breakfast Club by signing up for the newsletter at techbreakfastclub.beehive.com/subscribe. No one's probably going to type that in, so I'm going to leave a link in the show notes and people can click that. How does that sound, Morgan?
Yeah, that works. That works. Thanks for
Awesome.
having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you today. And I will say I feel I'm a little disappointed in myself because I did register for one of your breakfast tech events here in LA, and then I think I had a very important golf match that took priority, so I wasn't able to make it. But it is at the top of my to-do list to make your next one in LA.
That's the most respectable excuse that I've heard. But yeah, come out. Next one's in El Segundo, co-hosting with Riot. Yeah, gonna get a bunch of hard tech founders together.
I will say I am really impressed with how prolific and diligent you are about the tech breakfast events. I feel like you're in New York hosting one, and then the next week you're in LA and back and forth. And so I kind of like that cadence. You're definitely becoming known as a tech breakfast club, and I feel like it also just kind of stands out. It's like something different, you know?
Yeah, of course, like the one thing that you have no expectations for in life is the one thing that like really clicks and
Yeah.
becomes successful. But yeah, 2 years ago, I'd actually spent the summer in LA and then went back to New York and had a bunch of people to catch up with. And instead of doing like individual coffee chats, it was just like, I think you'd all get along. Let's get breakfast together. And it
Hmm.
was such a great time. You know, we were coming out of the pandemic. I think people were still really enthusiastic to get together post pandemic, but then especially. And yeah, it went so well. We were like, let's do it again as soon as possible. And then next time it was instead of 12 people, it was 30 people. And then it
Wow.
just kept doubling there for a while. Now we have to be like really selective about the guest list. Yeah, great vibe. No one was really doing anything in the mornings.
Hmm.
And selfishly as a lawyer, like work rolls in throughout the
Yeah.
day. So your evenings are pretty busy. And after I canceled like the 20th drinks or dinner event, I was like, why don't we just do something in the morning when I'm free and available?
Colin, I thought I told you not to join this session.
Oh,
Were you invited to this?
this is super awkward.
All right. Well, I guess for those who aren't
Oh,
watching our beautiful faces on YouTube, Colin decided to show up 5 minutes late. So we were just learning about Morgan's Tech Breakfast Club. So you'll have to listen to the replay. But I'm kind of excited to talk to Morgan because I like this kind of trio of what he has going on with Tech Breakfast Club, his angel investments, and then apparently as a day job as a lawyer too. So I'm kind of curious to learn about this trio. And before we kind of dive into how they all work together, Morgan, I've got a few kind of get to know you questions of specifically around your angel investment. How does that sound?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, cool. So, in your lifetime, how many angel investments have you made?
A dozen.
Cool. How many angel investments have you made this year or do you plan to make?
This year I've done two.
Okay. What's your
So
average check size?
So ranges from a 5K check up to like the biggest check I've written is 30K.
What type of startups do you look for and at what stage?
Yeah, pre-seed, seed. I've done Series A. There's nothing really unifying about the types of startups other
Yeah.
than, you know, I joke that I'm just signing up for an expensive newsletter. So I want to be entertained. I want to do something that's weird. Like if you tell me you're Uber for this, like probably not interested. Or like if it's too obvious, if it's a slam dunk, you know, there's tons of people that will invest in that, but I want something that's a little bit off the beaten path. I look to really influenced by this angel investor, Jerry Newman.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've ever come across him, but successful founder in his own right. And then maybe like around 2008 started angel investing, and he's had some huge winners. One of the like first checks into Datadog, one of the first checks into like Trade Desk, and you know has multiple IPOs under his belt. Super successful. Also a professor at Columbia, so I was at Columbia for law school and got to know him there. And he's been so helpful in just kind of laying things out for me. And, we've co-invested on some deals, but super smart guy. And one of his guiding principles was, it's just got to be weird. I want something that's weird.
Very
And
cool.
that's stuck out to me when I started looking at investments. Almost never, yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten a deal from like cold inbound, or I've never pulled the trigger on someone who just like reached out through cold inbound. Everything that I've invested in is through an introduction, or like ended up working with the founder in some capacity and got to learn about them. And yeah, so like bunch of the deals that I've done, yeah, the unifying thing is it's like people hate it. Like there's a they really struggle. Even like Beehive, which is probably my most successful investment, when it first got going, and now in hindsight it looks so obvious, but
Yeah.
when Tyler was like first, Tyler Dink, the founder of Beehive, when he was raising money, people did not like the idea. If you told anyone that email was going to be the most important medium of like the next 5 or 10 years, they would have
Yeah.
laughed at you. Like, and that was just
Old news.
36 months ago. Yeah, and he really struggled raising his like seed round. But to me, just like his whole vibe and weird dude for sure.
I
But
think they just raised a pretty big round the other day, and I'm actually thinking about moving my list over to Beehive, so they must be doing something right. So congrats to the team.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, I'll say that you should. I mean, of course, I'm biased, but
Shocker.
I think it's the obvious choice. Yeah. So,
Well, let's
well,
let's see how well Colin knows me. Colin, you know the next question I'm going to ask?
I have no idea.
Okay, well,
No.
then we're not a good team.
Just
Well, you keep talking about all these weird companies. What's the weirdest company you've invested in? I guess other than Beehive, if you thought that one was weird.
yeah, probably Rainmaker is the weirdest company that I've invested in. If you're on Twitter, you've probably seen Augustus running around. Berkeley dropout. Has had a successful startup before, and his like next big thing is changing the weather.
Hmm.
So yeah, I have only invested in like software
Wait, so
companies
what do they do?
before.
They change the
yeah.
weather?
Yeah, so
They make rain.
yeah, they
Do they
make it
literally
rain.
make rain?
Rainmaker makes it rain. So cloud seeding technology has been around for a long
Oh,
time.
very cool.
America invented cloud seeding technology, but we really haven't used it much. And
Hmm.
for a long time, we didn't know how successful it was. It wasn't until we got like powerful enough radar to judge that like cloud seeding efforts produce more rain. Yeah, and so typically the way it used to work was you'd fly a plane into a cloud and spray silver iodide, and it would cause the moisture in the cloud to bind to the silver iodide crystals and precipitate out of the cloud. So you could, make it rain over a general area, make it rain over maybe like a ski resort. Those were early adopters. Augustus has taken it to the next level, a bit more targeted. He can make it rain over a farm, like an individual farm, and they fly a drone into a cloud instead of like a plane.
Yeah,
It's much faster to get a drone
for
up,
sure.
and you can be a lot more targeted. And then innovating, bringing to market some innovations in like the aerosols that they spray. Yeah, and that's
I can only
great.
imagine the puns that are going on at this company, right? You know how every tech company loves the puns? Like when I worked with Bird, it was like everything was like a bird nest, bird, release the
Mhm.
flock, I can only imagine the make the rain puns that are happening over there.
Yeah. I'm sure
Yeah.
anytime they've raised any money, they've made it rain. So drilling in on this like weird kind of thesis, because it's something that I like feel as well, that's something that's just different or obtuse or just I don't know, unique in its own way, has a lot of like outlier potential. And I guess like
Mhm.
for you, like maybe like can you is it that the weird gives you the opportunity for big venture style outcomes, or is it that it breaks the mold? Like what is it for you that the weird is equating to in the long run?
Yeah, there's probably you can make an argument that that's where the venture scale returns come from. That's where the opportunity, the misprice, opportunity in the market. For me though, I just want to have fun. So yeah,
Fair.
I like the check size is not huge. If I was investing other people's money, I would probably have to be a lot more thoughtful about like the investment thesis. But yeah, I just want to do something with cool people who are doing, things that other people shy away from. Yeah, that's kind of like my whole vibe or like guiding principle in life. When, in law school, everyone has like a clear like career trajectory, and it's very serious. and looking around at my peers at Columbia, they all wanted to, go work for Skadden or Kirkland or these big, massive deal-focused law firms and work on billion-dollar mergers for like, KKR or Apollo. And that
I
just
don't know
sounded
any of the
so
companies or firms you just mentioned, as FYI. So
yeah, well,
You probably need to go on the internet, Harry, and read around a
I'm
bit.
not closing any big deals, apparently, huh?
yeah. So, when you're in that like private equity, multi-billion dollar market, and that makes a lot of sense. And there's a ton of money to be made in that
Yeah.
as well. But it just didn't sound fun to me. And then maybe one of like the guiding things, not to get too heavy, but when I was in law school, super close to my dad, and he was getting ready to retire and kind of live life, and he was really looking forward to that. And then this is the only like tragic thing that's like happened to me in my life. But mistake during surgery, and he died.
Sorry to
And
hear that.
yeah, it's seriously the only like bad thing that's like happened to me in my life. I've lived such a blessed life, but that was a turning point where I was like, all right, he did everything right,
Hmm.
investment banking. Then he moved back and became a financial advisor in Virginia, and he worked this long career, made some money, and then he was about to retire and travel with my mom, and he kind of delayed life for a
Hmm.
long time. And living through that, I was like, I that's just not going to be me. I got to do
Yeah.
something that's fun now along the way, and I'll figure the rest out. So, decided that like, hey, I enjoyed working for a startup before law school. Maybe I could be a startup lawyer. Maybe I can like start angel investing and just, you know, I didn't have to have it all figured out at the moment. It would just, the path would unfold in front of me. Didn't expect to be running Tech Breakfast Club. Didn't expect that to be as successful
Yeah.
as it is. And then it's all, just found ways to make it work together. And it's been helpful on the legal side. It's been helpful in the angel investments. And it's all fed together. And if you told me in law school that this is like the life that I would have, I would be really incredulous. And, I try to explain like what I do to my peers from Columbia, and they're, shocked, but maybe also don't like fully understand it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I guess your day
yeah.
job is somewhat straightforward with, being a lawyer for Optimal Counsel and then the Tech Breakfast Club. I'm curious, so tell us a little bit more about Tech Breakfast Club and how does that fit into either your day job or your angel investing, or is it kind of, you're just doing it and you're bringing cool people together and having fun?
Yeah, so it's more the latter, and everything else just works out from it. It's been, you provide value. It's helpful to, the founders, the VCs. There's a lot of VCs. I know you're pretty
Hmm.
fond of like Bloomberg Beta,
Oh yeah, I
which is
love those
great.
guys.
Great fund. Yeah, they've been big supporters of Tech Breakfast Club. They've sourced
Cool.
deals from Tech Breakfast Club. So getting like these early career VCs, some of their first big wins has been
Hmm.
amazing. And like they meet incredible founders at Tech Breakfast Club. And then like getting amazing founders investments, oftentimes their first big check coming out of Tech Breakfast Club. And that was not expected. At first it was just like, let's just get cool people together and see what happens. And in a way, like, you're not even really supposed to pitch at Tech Breakfast Club. Like that's not the vibe at all. You're not going in gonna
Yeah.
like speed date a bunch of VCs and like, show up with your PowerPoint and walk them through your
Yeah.
vision. But, just hanging out and getting to know people on like a very basic, friendly level. And then great things
Do you
happen
ever sort
after
of
that.
feel a little bit of jealousy or kind of missing out? Like if you connect a great founder with a great investor, they raise this huge round at your event and you were like kind of the organizer and the impetus for it all, and like you didn't really personally benefit out of it. Like I think it's a little selfish, obviously, to feel that way, but like I think it's like I know that's happened to me, with some of the events I put on, and maybe that's just how I am. But I'm curious, how you think about that or how you deal with that.
Yeah, now that you mention it, no.
This founder or this investor, they
Yeah.
raise 100 million. Good job, guys.
Yeah, that's, really hasn't dawned on me to think like that, but yeah, it feels, even if you're not like directly connected to the company, it feels great. It's like a validation of Tech Breakfast Club. And I want everyone else to get a lot of value out of it. I've gotten so much value out of it just as an easy way to meet a ton of people in
Yeah.
a structured way. And I'm not the most outgoing person. Like I can't go to endless events and kind of just like network 24/7. So like being strategic about how you meet people and like bringing people together. And there's this Twitter thread. I wish I could remember who wrote it. And the title of it was like build your own yacht. Like
Hmm.
stop waiting to get invited on other people's yachts, like build your own metaphorical yacht. And that really resonated with me. So like, stop waiting around to be invited to a really cool event, host your own really cool event. And
Yeah.
then once you're like have something of value to provide to people, all of a sudden you're getting invited to cool things as well. So, just creating something and the rest will follow has kind of worked out. So shout out
Yeah.
to that. I owe a lot to, so I talked about Jerry Newman, who's been super influential on like the angel investing side, but Moses Kagan is another super important person. And he's a real estate guy. If you're on Twitter, you've probably seen Moses.
Yeah.
He's like the Pope of real estate Twitter.
To push these real estate. Yeah, I'm interested in real estate, but it's like
Yeah.
Twitter algorithm loves real estate folks. It's like they're just jamming their tweets down your throat.
Yeah, he's kind of the opposite of that, where, there's very like self-promotional people on real estate Twitter. But Moses, super smart dude. I actually worked for him for a
Oh,
summer while I
cool.
was in law school. And I went in there thinking that I was going to learn so much about real estate. And I did. I like learned a fair amount. We did some deals. The market was a little slow. But the big takeaway was like how he built such a powerful like content engine
Hmm.
on Twitter and just like educating people and teaching people. And I saw that and you know, I didn't think I could recreate that as like a content play. I don't think like legal advice for startups resonates the same way like breaking down real estate deals does on Twitter. But then I was like, okay, could I take what he's done and kind of refashion it as like an event strategy and provide value that way? And like the events give a lot of content and, celebrating founders and interviewing founders and different VCs. And so he was super influential in just kind of like planting the seed of what's possible. And then I took it and refashioned it for events. But yeah,
What?
what was the question I went off
Yeah,
on?
we were asking you. Well, originally it started. Harry was asking you why you weren't monetizing your friendships more
So that was the
with these
question.
deals, and I actually
Anyone
that
who
was
knows
kind.
me is like, I don't do anything for free. So sorry,
That
Morgan.
I think that was like you were saying you haven't thought about someone being successful raising from a connection, or I don't, it could be anything, right? Like a business deal, whatever that comes
Yeah.
out of those things. And I do think these days, one of our former guests, Dennis, he had a tongue-in-cheek Twitter thing the other day about trying to not like monetize his running group friends and things like that. And I do think there's like this culture now that's kind of going harder into the let's monetize all our relationships, when in reality, kind of like you're saying, if you're going to
That's
build your
just like
yacht,
not, that's
you
not how it
need,
works. Yeah.
yeah, if you're going to build your yacht, it's about the people who are going to be on the yacht that want to come visit, you know?
Yeah.
Wait,
So,
am I getting thrown under the bus now? Is that what's happening?
Harry, you're
Although,
miserly
you know what,
and
Morgan, when you were talking, one thing you said that it reminded me of, and we kind of, I don't know, maybe we stole this idea from you, but we hosted, we mentioned Sydecar at the top as a partner, and we hosted a breakfast tacos event, Colin and I, with Sydecar in Austin, and it was pretty cool. Like, I thought we got a bunch of people out. Like, I ended up, actually, okay, well, I ended up one of the guys that founders that came, he came on as I came on as a consulting client, or
Mhm.
they hired me from that breakfast event. But, we met a lot of people and I thought it was super unique and cool, just the format. Like it stood out, and like people came. I don't know. I thought it was just like a cool little thing we did.
Yeah, breakfast is great. I mean, people have time in the morning. No one else is
Yeah.
like really doing breakfast events.
No alcohol
And
was involved.
yeah, so one, it's like cheaper. So that's
Well,
good.
to be honest,
Uh,
I thought the bar would be open, but it was so early it was
yeah,
closed. So
uh, well, that can be changed. Yeah,
Cruz in Austin, great breakfast tacos.
shout out to Veracruz. We actually, per your suggestion, when we hosted Tech Breakfast Club at South by Southwest, that's who we had cater.
Oh, really? Nice.
So
Really good food.
yeah, definitely shout out to Veracruz.
I'm
Yeah,
taking full credit. Yeah.
but it does,
That was my idea.
even the bar, even though the bar wasn't open for your event, I think there's also this like tailwind of sober networking that breakfast just like plays really well into, and it changes the energy. Coffee versus alcohol. People show up with a lot of energy. It kind
Yeah.
of sets the tone for your day. Who knows? You might meet somebody at Tech Breakfast Club, and it's like, all right, let's do lunch, let's do dinner, let's get drinks later in the day, and continue this conversation. So there is something unique about breakfast that I didn't fully realize. Like I was just doing it because I had time in the morning and it's cheaper. But there is, something special about breakfast.
I think also people are clearer in the morning. Like
Yeah.
they've slept overnight, they're kind of refreshed, ready to go. Like versus a drink at the end of the day, you're kind of like you're trying to like relax. And then I also feel like I always am like make semi commitments to people in those moments where I'm like, like maybe I didn't want to do that. Like circling back on the angel investing bit, I think you're doing this. I haven't been to one of your breakfast clubs, but it sounds like you're in the whole mode of connecting people, education, all of this. And I think in the spirit of all the, angel investing you've done, if you could go back to the beginning and be a little like, conscious angel on the shoulder, like what advice would you give to people?
What advice would I don't even know if I'm in a position to give advice.
Or
Like,
what would you do differently? Let's put it that way.
what would I
It
do
doesn't have to be
differently?
good advice, Morgan. It's just
Yeah, yeah.
advice.
Look, you're a lawyer, so I get it. You don't want to give any advice, but
Yeah, this
Not for
is
free.
I was hoping you guys would give me some advice. That's like what I
uh-oh.
came on the podcast for.
You
What
know the name of
advice?
this podcast is
Yeah.
Wannabe
Wannabe
Angels, right,
Angels.
Morgan?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's very fitting.
It's not expert angels. We know everything. We've got
Yeah.
it figured out. It's like, hey, let's bring on some smart people and learn from them. Or if they're
Yeah,
really dumb, don't do what they say.
yeah, I would say, you know what, you got to be a little shameless pursuing angel investments. Like if you just stand around and like say that you have money to invest, that's going to get a lot of attention, but maybe not the deals that you want to get in on. You have to be creative in how you go about one, sourcing deals, but then two, also convincing them that you have value to get on the cap table. One deal, and I had to sign an NDA around this, so I got to be very vague. But I can be general in like how it played out. Was like super hot round. Maybe there wasn't going to be an allocation, but really liked the company, wanted to get in on it. Found out that the founder, his girlfriend was looking for a job. So I actually found her a job.
Hmm.
And like once I provided that value and got her a sick job, probably way cooler than like what she would have ended up if she was just searching around for herself. But like once I provided that value, the founder was then like, okay, we've got room for you. Thanks for doing me this solid. And yeah, so like just finding like unique ways to get in on cool deals. So,
It sort of
there's a lot of
reminds me
ways.
of this concept, yeah, of like adding value to people in less like monetary ways, but more like what do you have that's unique in your network, or what skill, like what favor can you do to someone? Like, can you get them, your girlfriend is, on Broadway theater and you can get them a backstage pass when they're in New York. Like you can't pay for that type. You know what I mean? Like stuff that you
Yeah.
can't, like experiences you can't get or that you can't pay for. I always think like I totally shamelessly, my wife is an OBGYN, so I always offer her up like to anyone that's pregnant. I'm like, hey, if you have any issues, like text me and I can ask my wife, and my wife gets mad at me. But I'm like, it's like such a great, for people that I'm working on business things with. So I like that concept.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think going like being personable, like asking people about their kids if they have them or something like that, and trying to like establish like some like real common connection. But I also think like tech stars, like their first, like when they first started out, their main thing was like give first, right?
Yeah.
And I always think like I've kind of taken that to heart. Not that I've gone through tech stars, but I've been involved throughout the years. And it's like as soon as you meet someone, I just try to like listen for like what they need, and like as quickly as humanly possible, try and solve that, even if you don't know like that they can do something for you or whatever it may be. And I've always just found that like that opens tremendous doors, like immediately.
Especially in venture, because the power law with outcomes in venture, who knows? Like who knows what's gonna be the most meaningful investment or most meaningful relationship. And life just has an interesting way of like you might like somebody because they're fun to be around, and then all of a sudden a couple years later they're doing something that's like perfect for you and you want to be involved and you already have that relationship. So
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that's a great note to end it on. And you came with the fire. You brought some great advice, Morgan. Appreciate you coming
yeah.
on. You've got a lot of cool stuff. I see you've got, I think this episode will go live shortly. So I think you've got a NYC Tech Breakfast Club event. It looks like on May 22nd. Hopefully, I'm allowed to mention that. But we'll leave a link to your Breakfast Club newsletter, maybe your LinkedIn, any events you have coming up, anything else you want to shout out?
Yeah, come to Tech Breakfast Club. Best founders, best VCs, best people. Yeah, and thanks for having me on. I will say,
Best
given how
breakfast.
best breakfast, I will say like thanks for having me on. And I was hoping it was going to be in person. I get Zoom, but given how much you guys charged me for an appearance, I definitely I thought it was going to be, we were,
I
not.
will say it really cuts into the profit margins, like to hire a videographer and do it in person. And then the last time I did an in-person interview, I think I forgot to hit record. So it's like Zoom, it's a little more dummy
Oh
proof. You got the
man.
record button
Yeah.
right there and it says recording right now. So when I checked, I'm like, oh yeah, I did record. So we're looking good. And if people want to see our faces, they can actually go over to the Wannabe Angels YouTube channel and subscribe there
Oh,
too. Otherwise, they'll catch us just audio only. We also sound good. So Morgan, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys.